church. Figure we'll try a different church that I haven't attended before. I'm excited about it. So I was going to go to an earlier church service at a different church, or I figured I often don't have set plans. I just think, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. And so I called my kids earlier in the day, and they didn't pick up. Had unresponded texts and voicemails. I'm getting ready to leave for church, and I get the phone call, and they're having their daddy time, and I called them on I think it was Monday, and I was like, calling cell phones and house phones, and no one was picking up. And then finally I called their father's cell phone, and he picked up. And she said, do you have to talk to kids about something important because they're doing chores for me now? And I was like, I guess I can wait. I just wanted to, touch base, see how their day was going. So I'm sitting there, and they had called back, that same day. I think it was Monday, maybe. And I was like, what chores were you doing for your daddy? And they said that they were, that his garbage cans had got, kind of icy, and they were going to go ahead and de-ice their father's garbage can. And they were like, not like you, Mama, you leave those chores undone. And I said, yeah, kid, if my garbage cans were icy, you were going to be looking at some icy garbage cans until, nature saw fit to thaw those things. I wouldn't even stress it. And I was telling the kids, if you want to do chores, we got some chores to do at my house. We went through the litany of chores that we could do. They had, we have a wheelbarrow with a flat tire, and you can still use it, but it's harder to push that thing with the flat tire. So I have a tire compressor. It's a little cheap, inexpensive one. Maybe one day I'll invest in a more powerful one, but this is a little one I got for $20 at Ocean City Job Lot. And it does work. It will inflate the car tires or any tires, any inflatable things that you got. It takes a little bit longer sometimes. And so we could inflate the tire on the wheelbarrow. And if that doesn't hold air, we can either try to patch it with the patch kit or go to the store and see if we could take the wheelbarrow tire off it, or alternately, if we can't figure out how to get it off it, just take the whole wheelbarrow. And the kid's like, well, you don't have to wait for us to do those chores, you do them by yourself. And I'm like, it's so fun. No fun to do them by yourself. I mean, I can put on my audiobook or my music and do them, but it's more fun if you, have your little dudes or someone, and it's a togetherness experience, And so my big guy didn't seem too enthused about doing those chores. I was like, well, you don't have to. My little guy was like, oh yeah, we could do those chores. Whenever I happen to see them again. With the child custody case, I saw them on Saturday, and then I go another 8 days without seeing them, and it's pretty brutal. It feels like all my molecules and internal chemicals and every other kind of thing are just screaming that you're not supposed to be that far away from your biological offspring. You're supposed to be in close proximity to them so you can teach and protect them. But it's easier now that they are teenagers and in high school than it was when they were toddlers. It's very, very difficult. We're going through Stanford. I used to live in Stanford when I was a kid. Long ago. Long ago. And, yeah, so I was talking to that Peanut and Slubby on the phone. And I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just skip going to church. And it's interesting because back in the day, before everything had gone so horribly wrong in my life, I would be like, Saturday night, gonna see some friends, gonna, scoop up the house, go out or have someone over, something. And sometimes my mom, she was always very active in the church. Well, not always, but for, the majority of my life, she was very active in the church. And she goes, sometimes she would just spring it on me at the last minute. And she would be like, oh, you got to do blah, blah. And I used to be so annoyed because I'd be like, well, every time I get down to start cleaning the house or doing some kind of chore or some other kind of thing, all of a sudden it's time to go to church. And now here I am, and probably the prudent decision was to stay home and do the chores because finances are not doing too hot. The car's not doing too hot. It's got the engine light on, the oil light on. It's making unhealthy noises. I'm overdue for an oil change. My cellular phone, I couldn't even charge that thing. Like, it's just not charging. Like, I have to plug the wire in and sort of twist it around and find the perfect spot, and then, I'll go back and look at it later, and sometimes it'll be charged, and sometimes it'll be on 0%, and today was one of those days it was on 0%. So I have my Garmin GPS there, and it's got a short in it, and so like if I go over a bump, or sometimes if it's just calibrating, it'll just click off the directions. Like I don't even know sometimes what it wants to do, and sometimes I'll be able to just put the directions right back in there, and then sometimes it won't work. So, I had like pre-charged it before we left the house. I had plugged it in, so it's more likely to function correctly. But, so I had got a new GPS, like as a backup if your phone's not connecting or what have you. And in very short amount of time, the exact same thing happened. Now, I don't know if it's a fault in the design or what happens is, like, I'll have the kids and, everyone getting in the car, and then I'll look and it'll be on the floor, and it'll be, like, stepped on, or something has spilled on it. And I don't know if this is just something that, harsh wear and tear just happens naturally, or sometimes, like, I even hate to think about it, but with the going back and forth to their father, like, I wonder if it's, like, somehow, like, purposeful. Like, every time I get something, it seems to be broken almost immediately. Like, I had changed a electrical, like, the plate that goes around the electrical socket. You just kind of unscrew it and you can put on a fresh one. I had changed one, and I looked, and it was like cracked, or like a piece is broken off it. And I'm like, it seems like more than a usual amount of wear and tear happens to me. And, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that is just the usual amount of wear and tear, but it just seems like I have something nice or new, and I have, like, my eyes on this broken, so I don't know. But I got this camera for $3 at a tag sale, and I remember when these things were like $150, so it's kind of obsolete technology now, but sometimes there are benefits to the obsolete technology. Like, if you have a cellular phone, like, somebody could, like, twin your cell phone and have copies of all your call records and texts and photos. And, I mean, that could happen to a camera too, but it's just another layer of security, kind of, if it's an old, obsolete technology. Yeah, so the little dudes are with their daddy, and, you know, I was like, well, you know, you could come home. And they were like, well, we can't till we're 18. And I was like, no, you're old enough to make your own decisions now. Like, if you're happy now, that's great. But if you're not happy, you can come home. But after so much, you know, social worker, psychologist, Obama, I don't even know sometimes. I just tell them every day, you know, if you're happy, wonderful. If you're not, just let me know. But sometimes they even said in court that they're scared to tell me if they're sick or unhappy because they don't want me to worry or they don't want me to get in trouble trying to do something about it. They feel kind of pressure not to make waves. I don't know, sometimes it seems like they have a lot on their shoulders that didn't need to be on their shoulders at such a young age. So I got this car. It's in crappy condition. It needs service. I remember one time I was just sitting outside my mechanic's office and I started crying because I was so scared and there was something wrong with the car and I didn't have money to get it fixed, and then he gave me a payment arrangement, which is just unheard of in the automotive, you know, fixing things industry. But then, like, thing after thing came up and it took me so long to pay it back. And I was just remembered feeling embarrassed, ashamed, embarrassed, horrible. So it's in my experience, it's always best to go where you can stand on your own feet, even if it's a bit of a Hail Mary shot, than to owe somebody. Like, even if they're nice, like, he never said a word about it, but even if they're nice about it, like, it's very ego shredding, or at least I found it to be the case. So we're going, the car's going, I got road service if it doesn't make it, so yeah, there's all those indicator lights tell me something's wrong. And the last time I was in my kid's father's car, his car was just the same condition. We're driving our kids around in cars like this, and all of the lawyers and social workers, like, we would go into the courthouse and they'd be scheduling things around these fabulous vacations they were taking. And all the while, we're marred in all this very emotionally charged misery, suffering. And, you know, they're talking, it's like, oh, I went to Cabo, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we paid, like, our money, went on vacation to Cabo, and we're driving around in the car where it's a bit of a Hail Mary shot if you're even getting where you're going to go. Like,